If you'd like to stay strong and independent as you age, then listen to the story of my friend Robert. Robert's a health nut. He exercises daily, he watches what he eats, and he uses anti-aging treatments like oxidative medicine and bioidentical hormone replacement. So you'd think he'd have no trouble staying strong and youthful. But despite Robert's health regimen, he noticed that he started losing muscle mass as he got older, and he couldn't seem to stop it. Even worse, he started getting more injuries when he exercised. And one time he pulled a hamstring muscle and could not get it to heal. He tried chiropractors, acupuncture, body work, and more, but nothing worked. Then Robert came across an amazing breakthrough that changed his life forever. Within 4 weeks of using this breakthrough, Robert healed his hamstring injury completely. Even more amazing, he put on 12 pounds of lean body mass, and he did it without exercising more or changing anything else about his lifestyle. Today, Robert is 70 years old, and he's in better shape than people 30 years younger. His muscles are strong, his abs are flat and hard, his body fat percentage is only 8%. So what was this breakthrough that caused Robert to not only stop his muscle loss, but actually reverse it? Believe it or not, it's protein. Yes, protein. But Robert didn't get his amazing results by eating more protein or drinking protein shakes. No, he got those results by getting his body to make more protein. Yes, Robert got his body to make more protein. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you exactly how he did it. But first, let's review why proteins are so important. Proteins form your muscles, bones, skin, and hair. They form the connective tissue that holds you together. They even make up the messengers in your body, including your hormones, your immune cells, your enzymes, and your brain chemicals. Think about that. Think about what it means. If you don't have enough protein, you lose muscle mass, your hair gets brittle, and your skin sags, and your bones become weaker, and your immune system becomes sluggish. But that's not all. Your sex drive suffers. You become anxious or depressed. You become more likely to fall and suffer a hip fracture, and less likely to recover from one. I'm sure you can see why proteins are so important, and why not having enough can be bad for your health. So where do all these important proteins come from? Most people think they come from the diet, but that's not entirely accurate. The truth is that proteins are made by your body. But your diet's important because it supplies the amino acids, which are the building blocks that create those proteins. Here's how it works. Let's say you're eating a protein source, like a meat or fish. This meat or fish goes into your stomach and begins to get digested. Your digestive system then breaks down the protein into the amino acids. Those amino acids then go through your small intestine into your bloodstream. And from there, they're distributed throughout your entire body. The body then takes those amino acids and uses them to make whatever proteins it needs. Some of the amino acids are made into muscle, some of them are made into organ cells, some of them are made into hormones, and so on. However, not all the amino acids get turned into proteins. Some of them get turned into glucose and are burned for energy. This is a remnant of our caveman days. When we were cavemen, food was scarce. So we needed to be able to get energy regardless of what food we ate. Berries, no problem. They contain carbs that are burned for energy. Nuts, they contain fats that are burned for energy. Freshly killed squirrel, some of the protein in the meat is turned into lean body mass, and the rest of it is turned into glucose for energy. So how can you tell if your body is using the protein for muscle or if it's turning it into excess glucose? Well, scientists have answered this question. You see, amino acids contain nitrogen, and when amino acids are turned into proteins, the nitrogen remains in your body as part of the protein. But when the amino acids are converted into sugar, the nitrogen is released and passed through to your urine. So if you want to know if your food is being turned into protein or sugar, all you have to do is measure the amount of nitrogen in your urine. This measurement is called protein utilization. Here's how it works. If a dietary protein has a protein utilization of 100%, it means that there is no nitrogen in your urine and that the body is using 100% of the amino acids in that food to build body protein. That's great. On the other hand, if a protein source has a protein utilization of 10%, that means your body is only using 10% of the amino acids in that protein to make body protein. That means your body is turning 90% of those amino acids into sugar. Not good. So what's the best source of dietary protein? the one with the highest protein utilization. Scientists found out that it's breast milk with a protein utilization of 49%. That makes sense because babies need an efficient source of dietary protein. But we're not babies, so what's the next best source of protein? The next best source of protein is whole eggs. Whole eggs have a protein utilization of 47%, but it has to be the whole egg. If you just eat the egg white, like many so-called health experts tell you to do, you're only going to get a protein utilization of 17%. Why is that? It's because egg yolks contain the essential amino acid methionine. Take out the yolk and you seriously limit the egg's protein building value. After whole eggs come meat, poultry, and fish. They're all equal with a protein utilization of around 32%. But it really goes downhill from there. You know all those expensive protein powders, for example? They're supposed to be so great at building muscle. But if they're your go-to source of protein, you're going to be disappointed. Protein powders have a protein utilization of just 17%. Now, this includes protein powders made from soy, dairy, and even eggs. A protein utilization of 17% means that 83% of that protein is turned into sugar. And finally, how about spirulina, a very popular protein supplement made from algae? Depending on the brand, spirulina has a protein utilization from 0 to 6%. It's practically worthless as a protein source. So let's get back to the original problem. Why do people lose so much lean body mass as they get older? There are three main reasons. The first reason is that they're not eating enough protein. The second is that they're eating the wrong source of protein. And the third is that they're not digesting their protein. You see, it's not enough to eat the right proteins. You also have to digest those proteins and break them down into amino acids. The older we get, the weaker our digestive systems tend to be. We make less stomach acid and digestive enzymes. And this can cause a downward spiral. Remember earlier when I mentioned that enzymes are actually proteins? Well, if you're protein deficient, it stands to reason that you would not make enough digestive enzymes. That means that you would not digest your food properly. This would make you even more protein deficient, which would then lead to even lower enzyme production and so on. But what if you didn't have to rely on your digestive system to build protein? But what if you could skip that part of the process entirely and just take amino acids? Amino acids would go directly into your bloodstream. They would then be used to build muscle, bone, connective tissue, hormones, enzymes, and more. Well, that is exactly what my friend Robert did. He took amino acids orally, but he didn't just go to the health food store and buy an off-the-shelf amino acid product. Why? Because he found that you can't just take amino acids willy-nilly. You have to take the right amino acids in the right combinations. So let me explain to you how this works. You already know that proteins are made up of amino acids. Some of these amino acids are made up by your body all on its own, but there are 8 amino acids you have to get from your diet. These 8 are called the essential amino acids. You'd think that if you took all 8 essential amino acids, your body would turn all of them into protein, right? That's what I always thought, because that's what I learned in medical school. But like many things I learned in school, there's a lot more to this story. It turns out that we can't just take those 8 amino acids. We also need to get them in the right balance, because otherwise we may end up with too much of one amino acid and not enough of another one. To illustrate this concept, imagine you owned a bicycle factory, and imagine you had plenty of handlebars, seats, and frames, but you only had one pair of tires. Well, it doesn't matter how many of the other parts you have. If you only have one pair of tires, you're only going to make one bicycle. The rest of the parts just go to waste. That's the same thing that happens when you take amino acids in the wrong balance. Remember earlier when I mentioned that when you eat meat, your body only gets 32% of the protein? The reason is that the amino acids in meat are not in the right balance. So the extra aminos get turned into sugar. Fortunately, there is a solution to the problem. Taking the 8 amino acids in the exact right balance is the solution. How do we know it's the right balance? Because when we tested the product, it had a protein utilization of 99%. That's right, 99%. That means that 99% of the amino acids in the product are used by your body to make proteins, and only 1% are wasted. The results were so great that we decided to create a product called Advanced Amino Formula. I already told you about what happened when Robert took these aminos. In just a few weeks, he healed his hamstring injury, boosted his strength and overall health, and put on an amazing 12 pounds of lean body mass. He was so excited by the results that he started giving it to all his patients. studies, and they got great results too. They got more muscle, less body fat, they got stronger nails, shinier hair. They reported an overall sense of greater well-being. Today, hundreds of thousands of people have benefited from advanced amino, and now you can too. You can get your youthful muscle mass back. You can strengthen your bones to protect yourself from fractures. You can gain an overall sense of health and vitality. Imagine how great it will feel to have a strong body for life. Imagine how great it would feel to enjoy life without the fear of being dependent on others, without the fear that you're going to fall down and suffer a hip fracture. Well, you can have all that and more with Advanced Amino. Because you know what? Advanced Amino isn't just for boosting muscle and bone mass. It helps you, one, get younger looking skin and hair. That's because youthful skin and hair have more collagen. And collagen is made from, you guessed it, protein. Advanced Aminos also improves your endurance. In one case study, a 51-year-old female athlete hiked for 341 miles while carrying a 48-pound backpack. But this was no